19 years ago, a young Lionel Messi took part in a UNICEF photo shoot with a baby in a small bathtub. That baby was Lamine Yamal. Today, they face each other on the biggest stage in world football. The established legend facing the next generation. You can look at the photograph, their ages, the number 19, and the timing, and think this almost feels scripted. Perhaps it is simply coincidence. Perhaps we see patterns because human beings are wired to search for meaning. But for me, it raises a much more relevant question. How long do we continue operating within a reality that once worked for us? Plato described people who had spent their entire lives inside a cave. They could only see shadows projected onto a wall, and they accepted those shadows as reality. Not because they lacked intelligence, because they had never experienced anything else. I see a similar pattern among successful founders. Many entrepreneurs built their companies by being personally involved in almost everything. They made the critical decisions. They solved the difficult problems. They protected the client relationships. They maintained the standards. They became the driving force behind the organization. And for many years, that approach worked until the same behavior that created the company began limiting its ability to grow. The founder becomes the central decision maker, the strongest problem solver, the main relationship holder, and eventually the company's greatest dependency. That is a dangerous kind of prison, because from the outside, it looks like success. Revenue is growing, the team is growing, the reputation is growing. But behind the scenes, almost every important issue continues to return to one person. That is the moment a founder must be willing to step outside the cave, to recognize that the next phase requires a different form of leadership from the one that created the previous phase. Less personal problem solving, more leadership development, less control through constant presence, more clarity through structure, accountability, and governance, less focus on remaining indispensable, more focus on building an organization that can perform beyond your direct involvement. For many founders, that transition is deeply confronting, because when the company becomes less dependent on you, you are forced to reconsider your own identity. Are you still valuable when you are no longer making every decision? Can you give other leaders genuine authority without repeatedly taking control back? Can you build an organization that multiplies your judgment instead of continuously consuming your energy? That is the transition from successful entrepreneur to institutional leader. Investors and private equity firms eventually look beyond revenue and profit. They examine the quality of the company behind the numbers. Is leadership transferable? Is decision-making structurally organized? Is critical knowledge captured? Can the company continue growing without remaining dependent on the founder? A company that performs because of the exceptional strength of one individual may have created impressive results, but it has not yet created fully scalable and transferable value. Perhaps Plato's cave is also a lesson in leadership. It represents the moment you realize that the reality that made you successful may no longer be the reality capable of taking you into the next phase. So the most important question for a founder is no longer, how much harder can I work? The real question is, which part of my current success is now preventing the company from reaching its next level? I work alongside founders to strengthen leadership, reduce organizational dependency, and build companies capable of growing beyond their direct involvement.